Welcome back, everybody. I hope everybody is back. I will invite the bell 3 times before I start. And as you can see on your computer screen, my PowerPoint with the title, The Benefits of Practicing Mindfulness as I Have Lived. So I am bowing in with 3 bells. So, dear Thầy, dear Sangha, dear friends, tonight we are on Wednesday, October 21st, and I am giving this PowerPoint presentation on Zoom. It's my honor and my pleasure all the time when I have something to share. Growing up in a country like Vietnam, my hometown, before I came to Canada, we were surrounded by Buddhism as well as Christianism. We also have Islam and also Judaism. At home, my mother was a very fervent Buddhist practitioner. I was a bit young, so we were like more going out and having fun with our friends, and I didn't pay much attention to the religions. And also she didn't spend a lot of time to teach us about Buddhism. Her Buddhism is like I could compare to Pure Land Buddhism, as she prayed a lot. She went to the pagoda almost every Sunday and she prayed. She taught us to pray, and I didn't learn much about the teachings of the Buddha. And it has to be until I came to Canada. I was 18 years old when I set my foot in Quebec City with a very good memory of the harsh winter. And there, all in the sudden, I got books given to me by friends, and it happened that my first book that I received from my friend was the book entitled A Rose for Your Pocket. Une rose pour votre boutonnière. That book moved me so much. In Vietnamese, it's bông hồng cài áo. Thầy, in that book, wrote about his mother. He lost his mother. And in there was a poem that struck me and that moved me so much, because I was far away from my mother, that I started to be interested in Thai's writings until 1984. So almost 20 years later, when I was in France and I met Thai finally in Plum Village, 1984. So tonight I will talk about the practice that I learned from Thai, which I guess represents another aspect of Buddhism. We can call that Mahayana Buddhism, or Plum Village tradition, whatever you would like to call it. I will show you the first slide. A few weeks ago I came across the book written by Alexander Solzhenitsyn, and I will read you the passage in his book. A shower fell in the night, and now dark clouds drift across the sky, occasionally sprinkling a fine film of rain. I stand under an apple tree in blossom, and I breathe. Not only the apple tree, but the grass round it glistens with moisture. Words cannot describe the sweet fragrance that pervades the air. I inhale as deeply as I can, and the aroma invades my whole being. I breathe with my eyes open. I breathe with my eyes closed. I cannot say which gives me the greater pleasure. This, I believe, is the single most precious freedom that prison takes away from us, the freedom to breathe freely as I now can. He wrote this, I guess, book and story once he was released from the labor camp. He was jailed in Siberia, in a place called Archipelago, Gulag. And when he got out, he wrote the book entitled The Gulag Archipelago, that earned him a Nobel Prize. What struck me is the luxury, the preciosity of breathing. And how freedom is so important, that Solzhenitsyn needs that to breathe freely. But in our Thai teaching, Thai always said, don't wait until you lose your freedom. You can be free anywhere, because you can control your breathing. You don't have to wait until you are like coming to one place somewhere to be free to breathe. You are free everywhere you are, and you can come back to your breathing anytime you want. So that is a bit a contrast of what Thai taught, but still it's a very beautiful passage that struck me. Thai always told us in that slide that I give you, this is all the wall that I hang on on my wall the picture, the calligraphy from Thai, which simply say, each breath is a miracle. We take our breathing always for granted, and we don't pay attention to that until we are conscious of our breathing. Then suddenly we could realize that it is true that each breath is a miracle. So with that, I invite you to go with the next one, which is the beginning of the core of my presentation. I would like to talk about the first benefit, that practicing mindfulness, I was able to embrace and overcome some major adverse moments in my life. Throughout my 50-some years since I came to Canada, I went through a lot of challenging moments. The worst one was when I finished my study in 1975. South Vietnam, which was my country at that time, because I don't know the North, fell into the communist soldiers, communist regime. The communists took over Vietnam on April 30th, 1975. And all in a sudden, the politic of revenge that the northern winners inflict onto the southerners was unbelievable. People suffer. My elder brother, because he was a soldier in the South Vietnamese regime, he was sent to the north and spent several years in what they call a camp, a re-education camp. But the conditions there are not re-education. It's more like a prison. Hard labor work, lack of nutrition. So when he was released and get back to the south, he was very sick, and he died 2 years later. Between 1975 and 1980, South Vietnam went through a very difficult moment, and I was lucky that I had a job, so I can send money home to help my family. If you don't have enough financial support, the government could send you to what they call a new economic development project, which simply means you have to leave your house and go far away in very remote area where you should do your agricultural work or whatever to survive. So my family escaped that due to what we were able to send home. And during that intense time, I was very lucky because I met Thai. So I also attended retreats led by Thai each time he came to Canada. I practiced intensively at first, mostly alone, because in Quebec City there was no Sangha. But later on I was able to find a few people who follow the same path, and we form a small group and we practice together until I finally moved to Ottawa. The practice helped me a lot, giving me peace and also I obtain some kind of spontaneous and natural joy that help me to move on into my busy life, professional life. And also being mindful, I always light up the mindfulness in order to keep me. It's like the guard rails that help me to be constantly be prudent in my work, in my seeing, in my contact with people, with events around me, and prudent in what I say, in what I think, in what I act, and I feel quite protected. So those are the first benefits I would like to tell you. I have like plenty of examples that I can go in for hours about the adverse moments I have in my life, but we have only 20 minutes, so please allow me to continue. The second benefit is called Drishta Dhamma Sukha Viharin. This is the basic of Plum Village tradition, which means dwelling happily in the present moment. So practicing mindfulness, I continue to be diligent. You need some sort of habit to practice, to calm your mind, and it comes with time. So you are able to touch the wonders of life around you in the present moment. That's what it means. And by being aware and in touch deeply with the wonders of life, you water at the same time the seeds of calm, peace, and joy in you. And that makes you happy. That is important. So those wonders I would like to show you. This is the sunrise at Île de la Grande Entrée on the Magdalena Island. We went there for several annual retreats, and at 6:30 in the morning when you wake up, you went to the meditation hall, you sat there, and half an hour later, that's what you saw through the windows. So if your mind is calm, you can taste fully the beauty of the nature. And while I was alone preparing my talk, I also, every morning I walk along the beach on the island. This one is taken at Île de Havre-Aubert, which is the southern part of Magdalena Island. And we continue to be nourished by the gracious smile of the people who went to the retreat. This is wonderful. A bunch of happy people. We spent only 4 days together, but everybody was so happy. So you see the wonders of life manifest in front of you. And if you are not calm and peaceful enough, you may not probably see it. And the third benefit is called, in the language Sanskrit, vipassana. This is the second aspect of meditation. The first aspect is to stop, and the second aspect is to look deeply. Practicing mindfulness, I learn and practice looking deeply into the interdependence of things and events that I am encountering in my daily life. So we should not precipitate to judge or to react. We should give some moments to reflect on what happened. Because what we perceive could be totally wrong. We need some calm mind to perceive things right. So reacting to something too fast is not good. In our practice, we should take time to look into the interdependence of things and events. That is important in our practice. The next one, the fourth benefit is about transformation and healing. So we want to overcome our suffering. We need to embrace taking care of what is going into our life, what is coming up in our mind, and embrace it. It could be anger, and we don't want to let anger overtaking or dictating our action. We smile to anger, and we don't react. We look deeply, and maybe once we understand, we are so happy to see how wrongly we perceive things, and that more and more we protect ourselves in this way, and we become more and more stable. And we can also learn to overcome our habit. I had a habit, I smoked when I was younger, but practicing with Thầy, I was able to quit very early smoking cigarettes. And I used also when I was studying in France, drinking a glass of wine from time to time. Until I met Thầy, I was able to also finish my habit of drinking and be more and more aware of what I consume. And this is the Gatha I would like you to see. This is what I strive to practice every morning. Wake up this morning, I smile. That's not easy. But you have to practice even in the dark, you should smile. Thầy said that on our cheek we have like 360 different muscles. Just the fact that we smile, the muscles are being relaxed. So I know I have 24 brand new hours in front of me, and I vow to live fully each moment and to look at all beings with the eyes of compassion. This is easy said than done, but it's a practice. I have to remind myself all the time and to learn to open my heart. So when you are opening your heart, the fifth benefit is called karuna. Karuna in Sanskrit, in English that means compassion. Practicing mindfulness, I realize that happiness is not an individual matter. It's a collective matter. If my children, my daughters are sick, Can I be happy? If I have a beautiful house in the middle of a slum and poor people all around, let's say, can I be happy? So happiness is a collective matter. This is what also coming out from the teaching of the Buddha on the interbeing. So with the practice of the 14 mindfulness training that I took, I continue to find ways to speak out about injustice. I do that a lot. I wrote articles criticizing the Vietnamese government of their bad governance, of their bad handling of situation in Vietnam. And I also participate very dynamically to relieve the suffering of others within my capacity and limitations. So I will show you some example of my implications. The first one here on the left, the first picture on your left, is a project that I am participating since 2003, following the advice from Sister Chen Không, Maple Village from Montreal. Continue to raise funds annually to help the children in the remote area close to Khánh Hòa in Vietnam. And now they just create a society called Society of Love, Understanding and Action. So they are able to provide tax receipt. And this year they run into some difficulty because we couldn't do our annual gala to raise funds due to the pandemic. So they will maybe soon send out a letter that I will forward to you to have a look, asking for donation to help the children in those remote areas. I also I am a good singer. I have a very strong voice, and I sing in a choir. Here on the right, we sang 2 years ago in 2017 at Collège Saint-Eudes in Montreal, 3-hour performance in order to raise funds to help the victims of environmental disaster in Vietnam. It is called the Formosa victims. What happened was the Formosa Steel Corporation plant in Vũng Áng, by accident or we still don't know why, released 9 million liters of toxic waste into the sea, causing millions of dead fish over 250 kilometers of the coast, and also destroying the seabed. That was unbelievable. And the government didn't do anything. There was like 170,000 fishermen who all in a sudden lost their earning because they have no fish to fish. And I was invited by the students of Concordia University. So I took the occasion on this forum about human rights to deliver my analysis about the Formosa disaster in 2017. I also translated several applications from Vietnam so they can go on and apply for a court judgment from the United Nations led by a lawyer in Montreal. So I translated a lot of files from Vietnamese to French and English. And this is the last one, 2020 in Ottawa. I was part of the demonstrators in front of the Vietnamese ambassador's house in Glebe, asking for the release of all the prisoners of conscience. Right now we have like 260 people who were jailed because of their opinion in Vietnam. The latest one who was already put in jail was Miss Phạm Đoan Trang. Phạm Đoan Trang came to Canada and I met her during a hearing at the Canadian Parliament. But now she's in jail. Really, really sad. So we continue to cry out and ask for her release, as well as the other 260 prisoners of conscience, prisonniers de conscience. So one day they could be released, hopefully. So that's about it. I conclude my talk here and wishing you all a good path on the practice, and also thank you all for your deep listening. I will invite the bell to conclude my presentation.